Welcome to Talk of the Town, folks. My name is Ed Brady, and somewhere in the studio is my co-host Jake Fuller. Glad you're with us today. We got a lot to talk about. Want to get into the issues.
Well, so yesterday they now call them the special meetings rather than the informal meetings. Apparently, all the big heavy hitters for the new urbanist movement and the smart
bus
growth
rapid
movement,
transit,
the bus rapid transit advocates, they all showed up. We had Thomas Hawkins there, and we had surprisingly an Alachua County Commission candidate, Hutch Hutchinson, who has said in the past numerous times roads are going to have to wait. And so here they're advocating for bus rapid transit.
And he's also said, of course, our roads aren't that bad.
They aren't that bad, and we'll never be able to address the...
You ever been to Botswana? Compared to Botswana, our roads are great.
We're world class, but it's...
Uzbekistan.
Yeah, but the thing is, he even told us that we'll never... just forget about this deficit on the roads. We'll never be able to address it all. Let's just let it slide and move on to better things like land acquisition and bus rapid transit. And so they were there, and apparently the new commissioner, Commissioner Winston Bradley, immediately comes under attack by these partisan liberals who start accusing him of being some kind of hatchet man for Governor Scott. And he's just not going to be bullied. He's just not one of those types to be intimidated. And he gave back as good as he got. So, yeah. But very politely.
Well, it shows you that. He's a decent person, so he's not he doesn't do the attack thing, but he absolutely defended his integrity, which is the right thing to do.
Now, one person who was there and wanted to call in and discuss this was our friend Bruce Nelson. Welcome to the show.
Bruce was there.
Yeah, welcome to the show, Bruce. Maybe you can fill us in.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, it was interesting. As you know, I have an interest as to which way we may or may not go concerning our infrastructure deficit in Alachua County, which is about $500 million. There are many citizens' opinions on what should or should not be done. And I, for one, believe that this needs some serious discussion. So as I've been attending meetings for years, and then this one became also important to me. And I was quite shocked when there appeared to be all of a sudden a mini city commission meeting. But one of our county commissioners, Lee Pinkerson, has made a renewed effort to try to bring some resolution that's acceptable to all the parties to this sales tax, surtax, transportation tax issue that's being discussed. It's a very difficult thing because of the way people have lined up on both sides. But I can tell you right now, I just have to get this in first, Jake and Ed. You folks listening, if you don't vote, and you don't vote for Nathan Scott, having gone to the county commission meetings for a number of years, and I have confronted them on many issues, I thought they were quite goofy at times. But wait till you start dealing with the people that sit on the city commission. I didn't have that experience till recently, and if you don't have the courage to change these people that are controlling your lives, your property value, and handling hundreds of millions of dollars of your money, pox on your house, you got to get out and vote. I usually don't come out this strongly for a commission candidate, but Nathan Scott needs that job to start to bring about some change. Getting back to the meeting yesterday, Jake and Ed, Commissioner Pinkerson tried to find some common ground and has had a hard time getting acceptance from the city to understand the basic issue of the deteriorated roads throughout the county, some of which are right in the city of Gainesville, county-maintained roads. Instead, our famous Commissioner Byerly, as I've watched him for years, tends to change this issue from a road maintenance resurfacing problem that we have that is of a large magnitude to a 40 to 50 year transportation issue. And he starts to expound all the needs for more bus, rapid transit, different transportation programs for the city of Gainesville and the urban fringe. And then, lo and behold, he states this normal thing that I've heard come out of his mouth several times as a sitting county commissioner. He states, frankly, the people in the city of Gainesville do not care about the conditions of our deteriorated rural roads. Well, the funniest part about that, Jake, and is just before that there was a discussion in which Winston Bradley had a short comments on about our water in the state of Florida. And boy, did the libs agree that the water belongs to everybody and we're all one big happy family.
Yeah, good point.
I don't disagree with that, but when it comes to the roads, all of a sudden the county roads are for us country bumpkins, and the city has no need to do anything.
And let me ask you this: I thought when he's making that kind of a comment, I thought he was a county commissioner. Why should he care? Why should he, tote water for the city commission? I mean, he should be concerned with those rural roads. Those are his constituents.
That is correct. And by the way, so are the people that live in the city of Gainesville. But he has consistently, since I've been observing the commission, and this is one of my faults with Commissioner Byerly, is he has refused to represent his constituents, which is all of the people of Alachua County. He continuously focuses solely on the green issues and transportation issues of the city of Gainesville and the central core and what he defines as the urban fringe. So that in itself is disgusting, because while Commissioner Pincus is trying to bring about some cooperation in reference to attacking this problem, that's going to have to be faced. It cannot be kicked down the road any further. It's a critical state. We have another county commissioner who is trying to deep six it, by trying to make our definition or defining it as a road expansion program versus a transportation program, which was totally ridiculous. But the city commissioners are the same. They're not going to give. I've tried to work with this issue, but I'll be quite frank with you that at this point, I think that you're just going to have to draw a line in the sand and tell the city, tried to work with you. The county controls this money. They will control the initiative on the ballot. And my position now is that county probably needs to formulate a clean initiative that has nothing to do with anything but resurfacing and milling and road rebuilding and try to educate the citizens.
Well, let me ask you this, because I think kind of lost in the back and forth drama is a very substantive concept that Lee Pinkeson put forward yesterday that I think is part responsible for triggering this conniption fit by Byerly and others. And our listeners may not know that at this meeting yesterday, Lee Pinkeson suggested that instead of the 1 cent sales tax that goes for all of this stuff, which would include some road maintenance, but also the rapid transit boondoggle, he suggested let's just do a half cent by the county that would go to resurfacing county roads. And some of those county roads go through the city limits, so city dwellers ride on them, but they're roads maintained by the county.
Correct, and that basically is what it's boiling down to now. What Commissioner Pinkeson is introducing is an attempt to leave this transportation tax, which is controlled by the county, voted on county-wide, is up to 1 cent. And that 1 cent, of course, is distributed by the county commission unless there's interlocal agreements. Commissioner Pinkeson was trying to say, we have this defined massive problem. They're aware of what's going on. Whether you agree with it, disagree with it, don't want an initiative, the truth of the matter is, as the Commissioner Pinkeson said several years ago, we're in a pickle. It's a mess, and it's a risk to people's safety.
What was their reaction? What was the reaction by the lefties?
Oh, basically, they don't want to do that. They want to basically, particularly Commissioner Byerly, he does not even want to support a 1/2 cent for a county road type initiative. They want to wait for a survey which is being taken by a PAC controlled by Hawkins.
So the questions will be skewed to make it appear there's greater support for transit than there really is.
So once again, Byerly has proven that he's a bag man for the city commission. He's on the same page.
He's proven that he's such a single issue candidate that he's absolutely of no use to the overall populace of Alachua County. Now, the way to alleviate this is the people themselves. And I hate to say it, the more of these meetings you attend, the more you get informed, and the more you start to see what's going on. But the people that aren't going to the meetings, and I realize they can't, they need to start doing some research, and we need to start a voter education on the side of people who want to save their county, save their property rights, and reduce their taxes and millage. This transportation tax has the potential of sharing the load to fix the roads with non-ad valorem taxpayers, and as I've stated, and Lee Pinkerson is stating, then the county commission in good faith should respond and begin to reduce business fees, ad valorem taxes, the assessments and so forth.
Right. In other words, a trade-off. In other words, you'll offset the increase in sales tax by a reduction in other taxes we pay, so that basically it's a wash, but now we have a dedicated stream going to roads.
Again, Ed, you're dead on. See, and that's what people don't understand. If you want relief on the ad valorem tax rate, if you want relief in business fees and costs, and secondly, one major issue, I hope we don't run out of time, that I tried to make, and I hope Commissioner Bradley grasps this one, because he has a stated goal to bringing jobs and business to Alachua County. What type of company, even run by the most goofy of CEOs, would come into a county that has a $500 million deficit in its infrastructure and begin to expend millions of dollars here, not knowing, number one, looking at why something like that would happen, and number two, not knowing who was going to retire that debt. Is it going to fall on their back in impact fees? Is it going to fall on their back in increased taxes?
Yeah.
And so this is something that needs a lot of citizen discussion. I think your show is going to be an absolute asset to the people of Alachua County in the future.
And if people want to know, educate themselves on the desperate need for resurfacing these roads, just drive down Northwest 16th. Right near the mill hopper. It's just outrageous. I mean, there's nothing but it's just nothing but patchwork. But
if we have a moment left here, I had a conversation briefly with Tom Hawkins out the hallway after the meeting.
Can you do this? Can you hold on, and then we'll pick it up at the other end of the break? All right, folks. We'll be right back. This is Talk of the Town on the Star 99.5.
May I have your attention, please? Welcome aboard American Eagle with nonstop service from Gainesville to Miami.
Fly local with Gainesville Regional Airport. Easy check-in, easy departures. And now American Eagle Jet Service gives you a fast, smooth ride to Miami with connections to more than 250 destinations around the world. Visit AA.com for schedules and fares. Plus, visit flygainesville.com and register for low fare alerts. Fly Gainesville Regional Airport and American Eagle. It's close, convenient, and competitively priced.
There's a monster under my bed.
For a child with asthma, monsters are everywhere.
There's a monster in my bathtub.
Something as innocent as a teddy bear or a bath toy could trigger their next asthma attack. Here are ways to help. Freezing stuffed animals to kill dust mites. Drying bath toys to prevent mold. Learn how to end your child's asthma attacks at noattacks.org or call 866-NO-ATTACKS because their next breath is in your hands. Brought to you by the EPA and the Ad Council.
The doctors at Eye Surgery Center understand that you've worked hard to get where you are today, and the last thing you need is decreased vision. The doctors apply state-of-the-art technique and technology to give their patients the best options for eye care and cataract treatment, including the multifocal Restore lens for both distance and near vision. So if you've been told that you have cataracts or you're just not happy with your vision, call Eye Surgery Center at 352-377-7733. That's Eye Surgery Center, 377-7733.
Dave Ramsey.
The number one thing you can do to teach kids about money is how you handle money. Your kids are going to do what you do. You want to teach your kids about money? You want to teach them to be givers? Let them see you giving. You want to teach your kids about saving? Let them see you saving up and systematically building money to pay cash for an item. Talk to them about the mutual fund that's in their name, that's their college fund. Hey, look at this, kid. Here's how much the share price is, how many shares you've got. Look at here, that's what that total is worth. Use examples that are real life. It's the Dave Ramsey Show. Weekday afternoons from 1 till 3 on the Star 99.5.
Call Jake and Ed now. 372-3995. That's 372-3995.
The Precious Metals Report is presented by Coin and Jewelry Gallery at 2007 Northwest 43rd Street in the Millhopper Shopping Center. Current market conditions for gold is $1,758.10 per ounce. Silver is selling for $34.27 per ounce. And platinum commands $1,723 per ounce. That's your Precious Metals Report presented by Coin and Jewelry Gallery. I always stumble on that last word. I got to rewrite this.
3 days in a row, you screwed it up, so don't ever give me grief about that again.
Well, anyway, our call-in line is 372-3995. We want you to hear what you have to say about this, but we're currently talking with Bruce, who attended this really important meeting yesterday that was ostensibly as a county meeting, but about half the city commission showed up to try and make the case that BRT, Bus Rapid Transit, and the enormous amounts of money that will have to be spent will remain part of the project list if the county's to put forward a sales tax initiative.
So why don't you relate your conversation with
you mentioned you talked to Commissioner Hawkins after the meeting, so why don't you share that with us?
It was brief, but this it was a shock to me. I hear John's callers to your show talk about the callous, selfish, but shallow behavior of the city commission. I don't go to their meetings. So in an attempt to make a point with Thomas Hawkins, I said, you got to look at it this way, Commissioner Hawkins. We have a need. If you owned an automobile and it's in good mechanical condition, but it has two problems. All four tires are completely wore out, and it needs a paint job. He said, whose car are we talking about, yours or mine? Or a hypothetical car. I said, let's make it a hypothetical car. Duh. Okay, and I said, all four tires are wore out, and it needs a paint job. Would you paint the car first, or would you change the tires? He looked me right in the face with the seriousness of a Cub Scout, and he said, neither. I would sell the car and buy a bike. So when you have them kind of people handling millions of dollars of your money and making decisions which affect your property value, your future, your retirement, your children, grandchildren, it's scary.
Now let me ask you, did he then leave the meeting and get on his bicycle to pedal home, or did he get in his single-use vehicle?
He did tell me when he attended a gathering at Prairie Creek how terrible the road was on the way out there, and I informed it that these roads were terrible all over the county. And see, that's the thing, these aren't going to fix themselves, and it doesn't cost. I would submit, and this is all going to come about in community discussion, but a half-cent tax for 10, 15 years directed directly at road repair and resurfacing and rebuilding of existing asphalt with no ambiguity would be almost revenue neutral, because when it generates work, and when that money turns around, and about 30% of it would come from out-of-county residences, okay, that money would actually grow and produce an economic driver within the community. At the same time, this important issue of relieving the pressure on ad valorem taxes, businesses, and fees, and so forth that are charged on people. It's going to have to be fixed.
Now, Bruce, in a letter to the county commissioners, I guess trying to lobby them for a bus rapid transit system, Thomas Hawkins actually states that the total estimated cost of the citywide bus rapid transit network would only be $108,950,380. It's almost, it's $109 million. Is this guy? Are we on a different planet? I mean, is this guy in a different? I don't understand how these people can even think about this. $109 million. Where are we going to get that?
Well, number one, it's how they think. I also was introduced for the first time to listening to Commissioner Randy Wells speak. And he seemed a little more reasonable, but he had this comment that basically the university was like Times Square, surrounded by this separate, other, completely distinct community. They don't think on the level of taking care of the basic infrastructure of the county. Okay, they are totally focused on, as Commissioner Barley loves to talk about, not a current problem, but a 40 or 50-year transit problem. In 40 or 50 years, we're either going to be back to some normalcy in this country, or we'll be totally communistic, and then it doesn't matter, we'll all be on bikes.
Well, it sounds to me like these people are people like Thomas Hawkins and Craig Lowe and all the others that are on board with this, they simply want to move forward with bus rapid transit and all of this, the smart growth kind of stuff, so they can go to these conferences and puff their chests out when they're standing next to people from Portland. This really sounds like keeping up with the Joneses.
Yeah, and the truth of the matter is this is a status symbol for elected officials. It will bring no measurable benefits to the community. And I say this not out of opinion, but on the own projections of the city's own feasibility study that shows virtual negligent ridership increases between now and the year 2035.
Well,
it's just a waste of money. And what bothers me, Bruce, is that Thomas Hawkins knows that. Mike Byerly knows that. They don't. Randy Wells may just think it will work. I mean, he strikes me as a nice, sincere person. But I really believe the Hawkins and the Byerlys, they know it will not improve transit at all, but they want the status symbol.
Then you could throw in David Coffey. His comments, although reserved yesterday, were basically the 35 to 40 million had already been invested in the multimodal projects that are moving forward, which he represented the people. So he says they need that 108 million or 200 or 300 million to make that 35 to 40 million project work. This is bordering on insanity. And secondly, when you cannot reach somebody through common sense, I say shame them.
Well, it's also saying we're held hostage now. We're held hostage. We have to allocate future revenues to something because a land use lawyer made a deal with some other developers. Hooey on that. We're not doing that.
The other part we're totally not looking at strong enough here is the public safety aspect, the duty of government to provide for the safety of the citizens of Alachua County, both, i.e. the sheriff, law enforcement, proper jails, and infrastructure that doesn't kill people. Now, I say shame them, pox on their house in this way. They talk about the money being spongible on this trust, and the buses and the road. What I say is death is spongible, and I told them when I spoke yesterday, death is spongible. This blood's going to be on your hands because you are hypocrites, you're selfish, and you're greedy. And that's what I'm calling them when they can't look at this very current, clearly defined, major need
and approach
it
in a realistic manner.
Good job. We got other callers we need to get to.
Thank you.
We appreciate your public service.
Yeah, let's take Debbie on line 2. Go ahead, Debbie.
Hey, you guys. First of all, thank you for bringing up 16th Avenue from 13th Street to 43rd. It's atrocious. You're going to have to buy another car if you keep driving down that more than...
Yeah, once you get to that intersection where you can turn into the Publix, at Millhopper, there is nothing left on that road except patchwork. And it's like unbelievable. I just don't understand. These people they just simply do not care about dealing with the roads. And the reason is because they figure if the roads get so bad, then people will have to take bus rapid transit, but they don't realize, or maybe they don't want to admit, those buses have to ride on the same roads.
They don't care, Jake, and Bruce brings up a good point. It just shows how incompetent our city commissioners are.
Well, they are such ideologues, they are blinded by common sense. They are blinded to common sense.
Yes, and what we have to do, I know the first thing we have to do is get Nathan Scott elected. But after that, we need to stay focused on taking out the mayor, and hopefully it'll be with Ray Washington because he's obviously electable because of the cross-party appeal.
Yeah.
And we've got to unite as a community to get someone in there that's electable to take these guys.
And here we have Democrat operatives like Evelyn Fox, who is using her position from the Housing Authority. She goes around and basically is telling Section 8 people how to vote. They will vote for Lauren Poe, or she's the one that decides who gets their Section 8 housing renewed. So here we have she's using her position to strong arm people, and we've heard how she went after Dijon Kane for supporting Nathan Scott. These people will stop at nothing. They will stop at nothing to push their socialist agenda, and it's just outrageous.
That's why we've got to stay focused and stand behind people that are electable, like Ray Washington, Nathan Scott, and not have all these splinter off people splitting the vote everywhere. We've got to come together as a community and say, who's electable here? We know Nathan is. We know Ray Washington is. And put them in and support them from the get-go.
Yeah.
And bring these losers down.
Well, thanks for the call.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, and I have to say, even though I haven't heard Nathan's position on bus rapid transit, he's really focused on the other issues. he's a numbers guy. He's not going to fall for this phony baloney stuff that Thomas Hawkins. Let me just say this real quick, because you referenced this email Hawkins sent estimating the numbers for bus rapid transit at 109 million, which, by the way, is exorbitant. There's no reason to do that. But I would just follow it up with this, Jake. He's wrong. It's where does he says our cost estimate for BRT is, and he uses that several times. Well, where's his sources for that? Because, folks, listen carefully to this. There's one source of data for the bus rapid transit that Commissioner Hawkins voted to adopt. In other words, he accepted the findings, and it's called the, quote, development of the cost feasible plan, and it was adopted October 2010. Hawkins voted for it, as did Mike Byerly and others, part of the MTPO. And it's right there, folks. If you go to page 7, you get it online, the cost feasible plan, and it shows the entire BRT lines. And I'm sorry, folks, the numbers aren't there. This is how bad it is. The numbers show that the total build out for BRT is not $100 million. It's $370 million. That's a number almost equal to our backlog in roads.
So he's lying.
Yeah, he's completely off. And unless he has a separate source of data. But here's my question. Why would he accept a different source of data that lowballs the estimate when he voted to accept the findings of the government's own feasibility plan?
He's trying to pull a fast one.
He's trying to pull a fast one, folks.
Well,
all right, we got more callers we want to get to you, but we got to go to our last commercial break, folks. We'll be right back. This is Talk of the Town, only on the Star 99.5.
This is Gunnar from Skyfrog Tree Service. This is our second advertisement with 99.5. We're reaching out to the right people. I'm very grateful to be on the Thomas Hayes Morrison Show and a supporter of that program. When we send a representative out to someone that's called in for an estimate, the approach that Robin and John have is as an arborist first to see what we can do for your trees and for the customer. I'm extremely proud of my crew. Skyfrog has a great safety record and we have a lot of repeat business, so that says something about what we're doing. Please call John or Robin at 352-262-3470 or check us out on our webpage, skyfrogtreeservice.com. One of the most important things I tell my guys, and I tell them all the time, is to leave the yard looking like it was your mom's yard, squared away and better than when you got there. I'm a retired Marine officer and I run my business that way. Don't forget our website, skyfrogtreeservice.com. Stay motivated.
Hey there, you've reached Claire. Leave me a message.
Claire, it's Ann. Hey, you know that hormone balancing product we talked about before? The all-natural one. Amberen? Well, I gotta tell you this. Not only did Amberen stop my hot flashes, but since I started the Amberen program, I have lost so much weight. Seriously, even my belly fat, it's gone. I haven't been this thin in years. I feel great. Give me a call.
The leading cause of weight gain in women over 40 is hormonal imbalance. Until you balance your hormones, it can be practically impossible to lose weight. Amberen restores hormonal balance naturally, so the weight can just fall off. Yes, even that stubborn belly fat. Plus, Amberen eliminates other symptoms of hormonal aging too. So with your hormones in balance, you can feel great and finally lose the weight. Be one of the first 50 callers right now, and they'll send you a complimentary risk-free trial with a 30-day supply. Free. Call 1-800-835-6025. That's 1-800-835-6025. 1-800-835-6025.
If you would like to contact Ed and Jake, you can email them at talk995@gmail.com. That's talk995@gmail.com.
All right, we want to take these callers who've been waiting patiently. We've got John with us on line one. Welcome to the show, John.
Hey, good afternoon. Thanks for taking my call. Hey, you need to go easy on these City Hall Einsteins. They're just looking out for our best interest, and on top of that, they are going to put some of the money in the roads. They're going to use it for speed humps and road tables. I read the Gainesville Sun the other day. We want to do this in residential neighborhoods. That way it will expedite the emergency vehicles get to your house if you have a fire or something by slowing them down, They're just looking out for our best interests.
Well, when we're all too stupid to understand the real issues, we just need to turn our lives over to these ideologues because they know what they're doing, So,
Thank you. Have a good day.
All right, thanks. We appreciate it. Let's take Joe on line 2. Welcome to the show, Joe.
Hi there. I got a phone call at the end of last week, and due to the fact that I had to drive on Newberry Road at 5:30, 6 o'clock, traffic in front of the mall, I was extremely cranky when I got home. And I got a phone call from, it was a political call, and I could tell by the way the guy was talking and the way he ended up half of his sentences, like they were questions, but they weren't. You know it's a liberal. But anyway, I let him go through his spiel, and he was telling me about all these wonderful things about Lauren Poe. And I was really cranky, and I was really proud of myself. My husband was with me, and I had the guy on speakerphone. And I let him go through his whole sales pitch, asked me if I was planning on voting, and I told him yes, I was. And then he asked me, can Lauren Poe count on your vote? And my response to him was, only if I'm dead and somebody else goes and votes in my place.
Well, that'll work. That works for him.
And the guy actually chuckled.
Well, you should have asked him, are you a college Democrat? Because that's what it was. It was one of the college Democrats doing the bidding. So,
oh yeah.
Oh, good for you. Let's face it, they're well organized and they're pushing their socialist agenda. Yeah. And that's just the way it is,
Yes, it is, but I never waste an opportunity. I called GRU today with some questions about my bill, and I told the woman that because Lauren Poe is in favor of that biomass plant, and I think it's a horrible, horrible idea, there's no way I can vote for him. I'm voting for the guy running against him. Of course, I know Nathan Scott's name, and I wasn't going to let on that, I wasn't a Democrat. But I let people think I'm a Democrat, and I just talk to them about things that I don't like what the Democrats are doing.
Yeah, I'm thinking of changing my registration to Democrat just to drive them nuts.
I tell people that I do that. I tell people that I change my party depending on who I want to vote for.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, we appreciate it, and thanks for standing up for what's right. We were talking about this early voting a couple of days ago, and we did a little research and found out that the excuse that the supervisor of elections office is using, well, we can only have the county administration building, that one place that we can have early voting. That's because the city commission doesn't want to spend more money than that. Well, that is being disingenuous. What the truth is that the supervisor of elections, she's the county supervisor of elections, she has to contract, the cities have to contract with her to run their elections. Now, if they can't come to a negotiated contract, the city has to run its own election. Now, they don't want to do that, So on the front end of this whole thing, Pam Carpenter could have simply said, that is not acceptable. We had 3 early voting locations for the first election, and now the runoff, to be fair, we need the same setup. And she could have demanded, or if you don't like it, run your own election. Well, she didn't. So one of two things. Either she is doing the bare minimum for her job, or she's in collusion with the Democrats because that one location for early voting favors Lauren Poe because he's right there. The duck pond crowd is right there.
Yeah.
So I think she's either incompetent or she's a Democrat. She needs the Democrat support to get reelected. She's doing what she has to do. So that's just one
at the
more
point
way.
of contact, then when the contract is being negotiated with these municipalities, what you're saying is that's when she could say, look, I'm into fairness. If we're going to have early voting anywhere, it needs to be available in all quadrants of the city, not just downtown.
If I'm running it,
and that's something she could insist on being in there.
Absolutely.
Or we just don't do it because it won't be fair. And then now at this point, she's technically correct to say, well, at this point, I can't do anything about it. I got a contract and blah, blah, blah.
Hey, it's out of my hands.
It's the point of contact when the city initially says, look, we got an election coming up. We'd like you to run it. That's when she should say, okay, fine. We need to have Tower Road open. We need to have 43rd Street open. We need to have one in East Gainesville open. We need to have downtown open. And that's the deal. We do it at all 4 of those or 5 of those, or we just don't do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And as a former commissioner, the county supervisor of elections is not legally bound to have to run city municipal
I remember
elections.
all the times getting warnings, well, if we don't have supervisors do it, it's going to cost us this much money to do it on our own.
Well, so there.
So they could do it on their own.
So it was either spend the money and do it on their own, or spend the money and do it right. Mm-hmm. She decided, no, I'll just do whatever they say, and it benefits the Democrat in a nonpartisan race. This is absolute. I think she's in collusion with the Democrats, trying to, once again, trying to keep the power structure where it is. When she's a Democrat, she needs to be reelected, and so she's going to do what it takes. Let's take Stafford on line 2. Go ahead, Stafford.
I was just calling about Joe's call. I stood on the street corner with her holding signs. She's great, and she called me last week.
Yeah, she sounded good.
Yeah, she called last week to headquarters to tell us that story. And anyway, I was calling about Joe. She's great. And by the way, I want to take a quick opportunity to let everybody know that if they go looking for tomorrow night's REC meeting instead of doing it at the FOP Lodge where we normally do, we're going to be over near our headquarters. So just want to let everybody know.
Well, where is headquarters and what time's the meeting?
Meeting's at 7 o'clock. Headquarters is at 1722 Northwest 80th Boulevard, and actually we're going to be having the REC meeting at CPPI right around the corner from that because we've got Adele Griffin coming in from Marco Rubio's team. She's going to speak a little bit, but before the meeting, headquarters will be open for hours and hours before the meeting. If anybody wants to come early and make phone calls, they can do that. And then we're gonna whisk right through the meeting and get right back to making phone calls. We've been making a lot of phone calls, and we've got a whole lot more to make.
So who's speaking from President Rubio? I mean, Senator Rubio's.
Vice President Rubio. I like.
I'd rather see President, but anyway, go ahead.
Well, Adele Griffin. She's with Senator Rubio's office. So she's coming to talk a little bit and talk about what Senator Rubio's been doing. It'll be a lot of fun.
So, Stafford, what do you think about Winston Bradley's first meeting? He got the brass knuckle treatment by some people who were trying to intimidate him, evidently.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of ridiculous. I mean, gee, at least let the man get his first meeting under his belt before people want to start.
I think it was indicative of the kind of people that we have to deal with. These people are rude. They're they're condescending. They're arrogant. And to accuse this fellow, this new commissioner of being some kind of lackey for Governor Scott simply because he was appointed, it's just absolutely ridiculous, and it was inexcusable.
Yeah.
Hey, look, that's the process. I mean, what do you want him to do? What do you want the governor to do? Let the seat stay open? I mean, that's the process. That's what state law says. If there's a vacancy like that, and it's within a certain period of time, the governor makes the appointment.
And if we had a Democrat governor, appointed liberal Democrat, would they have stood there and accused him of being a hack for the governor? I mean, it's just, what is he supposed to do? He's a Republican governor. He's not going to appoint Hutch Hutchinson, So what a ludicrous thing to say,
It really was.
And very rude. And these are the kind of people we have to deal with. They are nasty, mean-spirited individuals who will stop at nothing to get their agenda.
Yeah.
So.
And also, I'd like to encourage people, talking about the city of Gainesville elections, people need to go down and rattle the cages. And I told people this a long time. Wouldn't it be a great idea for the party to go down and rattle the cages of the city commissioners about this? Because they'll just say, take a flying leap. But voters in District 2 and in other districts, that aren't downtown, they need to go down and rattle those cages about that. That's actually a city ordinance that defines how that happens. And the city ordinance actually says that there will be one early voting location. It will be in the supervisor of elections office. And so, whether or not the supervisor of elections can do something about it or not, I don't know. But I tell you, the voters need to go rattle the city's cages and make them change that ordinance and tell them that they're being disenfranchised.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And while they're at it, they need to start talking about moving those elections to some other time, or if nothing else, demanding that they're on the same day every year. That's one of the reasons why we've got such low turnout, because voters never know when the city of Gainesville elections are.
Sure, it's all by design. While you're talking about rattling cages, they need to call Pam Carpenter's office and demand to know the real reason why they don't have 3 different places for early voting, and don't buy into the lie that they're saying, oh, it's the city commission didn't want to pay for it. Well, you know, on the front end, like we said, she could have made a difference. She could have done her job and demanded fairness, but instead she's acting like a partisan. And so I say we need to rattle a lot of cages.
Sounds like Jake's a little upset about that.
Absolutely.
All right.
All right.
Thanks for the call.
We appreciate
Stafford.
it, Stafford.
You know, I wanted to. Do we have another caller? Are we?
Nope.
All right. Well, I wanted to just real quickly get back to one thing I think is important about Bus. I said Bus Hawkins. Thomas Hawkins' claim about BRT not being all that expensive. He sends this email out. It's a public record now, and in it he claims that the principal line is only going to cost this. Well, guess what? This principal line, if you add up the routes, where's East Gainesville?
It's not there.
Oops. You know, Mayor Lowe says BRT is an integral component of Plan East Gainesville. Well, according to Thomas Hawkins, who's trying to sell BRT as a low-cost alternative, East Gainesville is not thought very highly of in such a plan.
They just forgot. Well, you know.
But hey, black community, keep voting for the libs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Evelyn Fox, etc. Keep getting those votes for the liberal progressive candidates.
Just keep buying into the lies, because that's what they're doing. They're lying to you. Anyway, we've got to take a. Well, I guess we have to leave, right? The show's over. Well, we were just getting fired up, but we'll be back tomorrow, all fired up and ready to go. And we hope you join us here on Talk of the Town on the Star 99.5.